Most people don't have a retirement problem. They have a reality problem. Because if you ask someone how much they've saved for retirement, you'll usually hear something like, yeah, I've started. But if you look at the actual numbers, the average American between ages 55 and 64 has around $120,000 saved. That sounds decent, until you realize that's supposed to last them 20 to 30 years. And this is where things start to get uncomfortable, because $120,000 over 25 years is about $400 a month. Not extra. Total. Now, here's the part nobody really talks about. This isn't happening because people are careless. It's happening because the system and your brain quietly push you in this direction. There's something called present bias. It means your brain values today more than the future, every time. Not because you're lazy, but because your brain literally treats the future version of you like a stranger. So when you think, I'll start saving seriously next year, what you're actually doing is passing the responsibility to someone your brain doesn't fully care about. And the scary part is, this doesn't feel like a bad decision, it feels normal. And then life starts filling the space. Look at what's happened in just the last few years. Rent in many cities has increased 20 to 40% since 2020. Grocery prices surged after global supply disruptions. Interest rates climbed, making debt more expensive. Tech layoffs hit over 200,000 workers in 2023 alone. So what do people do? They adjust, they survive, they say, I'll save when things stabilize. But things don't stabilize, they just change. And this is where it gets deeper, because even when people can save, they often don't. There's a concept called mental accounting. Your brain separates money into categories: salary, bonus, savings, and extra. And the dangerous one is extra, because when money feels like extra, it doesn't feel important. It feels optional. So instead of building retirement slowly, people spend in ways that don't feel like spending. Not obvious purchases, subtle ones. The subscription economy is a perfect example. In 2024, the average person spends over $200 to $300 per month on recurring services like streaming, software, memberships, and apps. None of these feel expensive because they're fragmented. But here's what people don't realize. That fragmented spending often exceeds what they put into retirement. And it doesn't feel like a trade-off, but it is. Go back 40 years. Retirement looked completely different. So companies offered pensions, which meant you didn't have to think about retirement. It was handled for you. Today, most people rely on 401ks, personal savings, and individual investments. The responsibility shifted, but the behavior didn't. People still act like retirement is something that will be taken care of, even when it's not. And this is where the gap forms. Globally, the situation isn't better. In the UK, around 40% of adults have less than £5,000 saved. In many developing countries, retirement savings are almost non-existent. And even in wealthier economies, people are underprepared. But here's the part that changes everything. Retirement isn't just financial, it's psychological. When people imagine retirement, they don't imagine inflation, healthcare costs, or uncertainty. They imagine freedom, rest, and peace. And that image creates a dangerous disconnect. Because the reality requires discipline, but the vision feels effortless, so the brain avoids the friction and holds on to the illusion. There's something else happening too. Time perception changes as you age. At 25, retirement feels distant. At 35, it still feels manageable. At 45, it starts to feel closer. And by 55, it feels immediate. But here's the problem: savings don't scale the same way time does. You can't compress 30 years of preparation into 10, but many people try. And this is where panic starts to replace planning. When people don't save enough, they don't just retire later, they retire differently. They rely more on family, reduce their lifestyle drastically, or continue working in ways they didn't expect. In Japan, for example, there's a growing number of elderly people re-entering low-wage jobs, not because they want to, but because they have to. In the US, nearly 1 in 5 people over 65 are still working, not all by choice. And this is the quiet reality. Retirement isn't disappearing. It's changing shape. So why don't people fix it? Because the problem doesn't feel urgent. You don't wake up and feel retirement pressure. You feel rent pressure, bill pressure, job pressure. Retirement is silent until it isn't. And by then, your options are limited. But here's what people don't realize: this isn't just about saving more money, it's about understanding how small, repeated decisions shape long term outcomes, how your brain avoids discomfort, and how systems changed without changing behavior. Once you see that, the situation looks very different. Because the problem isn't, I don't have enough money. It's, I didn't notice how things were adding up. And that's the real shift. When people finally understand this, they don't suddenly become perfect savers, but they become aware. And awareness changes behavior in a way pressure never does because now it's not abstract, it's real. Right now, there's a version of you in the future. And whether that version struggles or feels secure isn't decided by one big decision. It's decided quietly, repeatedly, over time. So the real question isn't how much should people save? It's why don't they, even when they know they should? Because once you understand that, you stop thinking about retirement as a number and start seeing it as a pattern. And patterns are what actually decide outcomes. What do you think? Is this a money problem or a behavior problem? And if you want more videos like this, breaking down things people don't usually talk about, subscribe.